Hello, and the new DLC has just hit. DLC run for Wargame Red Dragon, the millionth mile. So the aim of this video is basically get through the mile-long patch notes, cut the chaff, and tell you what is important and the main big things that have changed. So let's cut to the chase and get to it. In the deck section, not too much has really changed. The Eurocorp and Commonwealth decks have a 0% availability bonus now, kind of like a mixed NATO or mixed Redfall deck, and they change the amount of activation points you get for decks now, with mixed decks only having 50 activation points, Coalitions having 55, and National decks stay with 60 activation points. So now there's more reason to pick a Coalition or National deck compared to a mixed deck, as you can't really bring that many units out in a mixed style deck. In the generic section, we've got some pretty big changes. Morale A-time and accuracy debuffs have been lowered, meaning that when your units are stressed out in combat, they're going to be slightly more effective than before the patch. There's been an interceptor nerf, and I mean interceptor, I mean MiG-31 and F-14 Tomcat, where the aim time is now 2 seconds, and they have a lower angle or angle of fire, where it used to be 30%, now it's only 10%. But no one really uses interceptors in the array anymore, so I think it's not that huge of a deal. Tanks with autoloaders no longer suffer a reloading penalty when stressed. So when panicked, they're going to be firing at the same rate of fire than they were if they were calm. So that's going to increase their combat efficiency by quite a bit. Autocannons fire in short bursts now, so one burst in-game is now 2 in-game hits. This is better to represent real-life autocannons, as autocannons in real life fire in bursts and not just continuously. And the slower autocannons are now slightly better, mainly the Raden. The KA-50 and KA-52 Igla has now been upgraded to an Igla V missile with 2,625 meter range, meaning they're going to dominate the sky even more. The only other helicopter with that sort of AA range was the Celtic, and that was a pretty lightly armoured beast. But now the KA-50 and KA-52 have it, they're definitely going to kick some serious butt. And finally, the M60 now has an increased rate of fire, meaning that it is a hell of a lot more effective, as rate of fire is the big statistic that you want to focus on machine guns. Because statistically, with machine guns, higher rate of fire, more damage down range, and well, a faster dead target. This is why MG3 has been considered the best machine gun to use, because of its high rate of fire. In the logistics section, we've got a few minor changes, mainly that supply trucks get more units per card now, so you can get more supply trucks per card, and a few minor price changes, nothing too notable here. In the recon section, the PT recon tanks like 76 and the 85 PTs and the BRM run now have an autoloader and increased rate of fire. So autoloader buff that I was talking about before affect these buggers. Navy SEALs use 50% more ammo in a salvo, so they fire 50% more ammo per salvo, but at a slower fire rate. This means that they do more alpha damage or more instant damage, but they fire at a slower rate, of course. I don't know how it's really going to affect them too much. Might make them better, might make them worse. We're going to have to see how it plays out. And finally, those American Mountaineers, those infantry units that haven't been touched since AOB, have now been rechanged to Cavalry Scouts, a 5-man squad with a Dragon 2 ATGM, making it one of the only recon squads with an ATGM. For infantry, number of men in reserve squads, which are 15 men, are now reduced to 10 men. So your reservists, your French reservists, I believe it was 15 men, the North Korean reserve infantry, those 15 men squads are now 10 men squads. Unless you're Scandinavian. If you're Scandinavian and you have reserve infantry, you are still 15 men squads. Delta Force and Spetsnaz now have suppressed weapons, the MP5 and AS Val. It's not really going to affect the Spetsnaz too much, as you're going to go loud with Spetsnaz anyway. That's the whole point, you have a bloody napalm launcher. Delta Force, people might use them a bit sneaky peeky now, but I don't know. I like using Delta Force with the M60 buffs, they're going to be a lot more effective. But I think it's not going to win people's hearts over still. People still want to use Fallschläger 90s and Navy SEALs as their Special Forces frontline unit. And finally, FJBs now have a Strela 3, making them slightly more effective against helicopters. In the support section, HE MLRS rockets have increased suppression and a higher HE radius, meaning that they cause bigger boom, and that bigger boom causes tanks and all other things that get inside that boom to be suppressed, making their job a lot better, as that's the whole point of HE MLRS rockets, to suppress the enemy. Napalm MLRS rockets no longer do HE damage, because when the rocket would hit, it would do an explosion, napalm would land. Now only the napalm lands, just like a napalm bomber. Mortars have a larger dispersion radius, ren fire and smoke, allowing them to cover more area with smoke, which is a nice little quality of life improvement, as beforehand you have to split them all up in groups of one and just choose very small areas to smoke up. And mortars now get a rate of fire increase, making them more effective. Base howitzers have a 30-second aim time on the target unless you have an advanced firing control computer, like the AS90, Caesar, Paladin and Mister. They only get 10-second aiming times, making them still pretty bloody effective. Heavy SAM missiles like Eyehawk now have 9 HE damage, and Redfall barrage artillery salvos are now reduced to 10 to help newer players, because you'd fire 20 salvos, waste a lot of ammo because you don't really need 20 rounds onto a target. And a lot of price and availability changes across the board, slight price nerfs and tweaks for a lot of support units. The tank section, we got some big changes. T-34 85s and Mark V Centurions now cost 5 points more. So probably no longer are the days of T-34 and Centurion spam, and now we're probably just going to be seeing more like T-55, T-62 style tanks being used as cheap spam in units. T-72s now have autoloaders, which is big, allowing them to fire at the same rate of fire if they were stressed, than if they were calm. Now this is kind of big, as most of the time your tanks are going to be stressed because they're going to be under artillery fire, rocket fire, and ATGM fire. So having that same rate of fire throughout the battle is going to help the T-72 be a lot more effective, and kind of gives them that little trait that beats them from the T-64 and T-80 line of tanks. Accuracy buffs for tons of tanks, no pun intended, where like the Leopard 1 line now, they do like 50% accuracy of the Leopard 1A4. T-55's accuracy increases across the bleeding board, mainly for the medium tanks, so making them a lot more effective, and a lot of price reductions for medium tanks, and some simple price increases for a few other tanks like Chieftain Mark 11, AMX NRC, etc, etc. And also there's a lot of other minor changes. I mean, the bloody tank section was it was like a page and a half long, so a lot to really go over. And well, I'm kind of looking forward to this. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more tanks now being used in the meta, because medium tanks are cheaper and they're now a lot more accurate, meaning they are a lot more effective, and I am going to be looking forward to that. Vehicle section, we got availability increases for IFVs such as Bradley and BMPs, so you can get more Bradleys and BMPs in a card. We got a lot of price reductions for cheaper transports, so like the 10-point M113s are now 5 points now, meaning that it's going to be a lot more luxurious to bring those type of transports. We have Japanese Humvees now have a machine gun if you've ever played Japan or ever used their Humvees, making them very similar to the American version Humvee. And a lot of other minor changes, nothing really too big in the vehicle section except for the price reduction for the transports. In the helicopter section, the Z9 and Panther helicopters no longer have any frontal armor, meaning they're more exposed to small arms fire. There's been a base availability increase for cheaper helicopter transports. The Mi-24V is now an AA helicopter. It's been rerolled to an AA helicopter. They got out the Kokens, brought on Iglas. Meaning, I think this is going to be a pretty great early on rush unit, because it has the cannons and rockets to deal with lighter APCs that are going to be rusting into the towns, and you got the Igla AA missiles to shoot down helicopters, and it's a Hind, so it's armoured as well. It's a really nice package, a very nice light armoured and helicopter pack is going to be an absolute bane for mechanized commanders everywhere. Mi-24 VP now has Koken Ms, meaning they're more effective against ground targets, as the Koken M has increased AP. Ka-29 and 27 have some rear armour now in the back. There's been price increases for the more expensive Lynx and Puma transports, so like the 15-point Lynx and Pumas are now 25 points. And the Canadian CH-13 gunship no longer uses heat ammunition, but now uses HE ammunition, meaning they can actually engage infantry targets. Because beforehand they can only engage light armor targets, and even then they were pretty crap at it. And for the planes, air-to-air missile minimal range has been reduced to 10% of the maximum range. Laser-guided bombs now hit the top armor of tanks, meaning that they do more damage because the top armor is the weakest point. This goes for like Nighthawk and the F-1 Japanese bomber. This is going to be pretty cool against basically stationary tanks. If you can get that Nighthawk right on top of that T-80UM, there's not going to be a T-80UM, let's just put it like that. But to deal with that, they have reduced the HE damage of laser-guided bombs to match the dumb versions. So just a slight nerf, yeah. They added an OD-AB 500 thermobank bomb for the Czech MiG-29. It does a HE explosion, and then it has a medium napalm effect just like the Berantino, which is a pretty cool plane for the CSSR, as the only napalm bomber was a Dolphin, and the Dolphin wasn't really entirely that great. And the R-33 Vampire missiles, time between missiles reduced from 6 seconds to 1 second, so you can fire these guys off extremely bleeding fast, meaning that the Red 4 interceptors with these missiles are going to be extremely deadly at CQC. There's been availability increases across the board for the more like cheaper 50 to like 70 point planes, but they have slightly adjusted their price by either increasing it by 5 points or decreasing it by 5 points. But the main ones we're going to talk about is that the Kaihu, the 100-point ATGM plane that's been making Red 4 tank players quiver in their boots, have now been changed to 125 points, making it quite an expensive ATGM plane now. And the Su-27S plane is now 150 points, as beforehand it was very overshadowed by the Su-27PU. So now USSR players have a cheaper interceptor to pick from. And finally we got the naval section, and well, there's nothing in the naval section. They haven't changed naval units whatsoever. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this patch. I'm looking forward to playing some matches of it and testing out the new DDR units like the Polish, the East German and the Czech units now, because they all have updated armies. I'm happy with the helicopter changes, the tank changes I'm really happy with. Planes, I think that's going to be quite good, as you can now get those cheaper spamming planes and now spam them because you got more per card, and you can only really get one card of a lot of these spamming planes. So yeah, we're going to have to see how this plays out, and mostly I'm really looking forward to the meta and seeing how people or how higher level players will react to this patch. So yeah, I'm Rangru, this has been a patch video, and most importantly, you guys take it easy.